How to make a stop motion narrative with Adobe Creative Suite. We're going to be using Premiere Pro and Adobe Bridge. So the first thing I have here are my pictures. These are the original pictures that I shot for my narrative, and these are just practice ones. And what I want to do is set myself up first. So I'm going to make a new folder. So I'm going to go File, New Folder, and I'm going to call that Stop Motion Narrative. And inside of that, I'm going to make two folders. One's going to be called, I'm just going to call this Stop Motion Media. And this is where all of our source files are going to go. And then this is going to be called Stop Motion Projects. And the projects folder is basically just for the Premiere Pro files. The media folder is for our source media, which is going to be the pictures that we're using to make the narrative. But before I put them in here, I'm going to edit them first. So I'll close this for now. And I'm going to take this folder and open it in Bridge. And here are all my pictures. I have 56 here, although you may end up with 1,000 or so pictures. And I'm going to select all of them. So I'm going to click and then do Command A to select all the pictures. I can see I have 56 items selected. And I'm going to press this button right here, which is to open them in Camera Raw. And these are JPEGs, but the reason I'm opening them in Camera Raw is so that I can edit one and apply the settings to the other pictures, so I don't have to edit all the pictures individually, because that would take me really long. So I'm going to fix the a little color balance here. That helps. Maybe make it a little bit brighter. Increase my contrast a little bit. Maybe make my shadows a little bit darker. Okay, that looks pretty good to me. So what I want to do is apply these edits to all of my pictures. And this little icon here means that I have some edits there. So I'm just going to make sure that this picture is selected, which it is. And then I'm going to do Select All. And you'll see that these got brighter, but this one still has a blue line, which means that this one's sort of like the master one. So I'm going to synchronize my settings to apply it to the other files. And it's always going to sync the files or the edits from the picture that's got this blue square. It's going to sync it to the other file. So it's important to always have the correct one selected first. So I'm going to press Synchronize. And this is fine because I just did some basic edits for the exposure and highlights. If I did other stuff, I could select other settings here as well. I'm going to press OK, and you'll see that it'll start applying the same edits to everything. And so you want to do that so that everything looks exactly the same. And I can see it's still going. Give that a minute. That's done. So once that's done, I'm going to save my images. I need to export new JPEGs with the changes. So I'm going to go over here. I don't want to save it in the same location, but actually, because I already set up my folders on my desktop, here's my stop motion narrative, and stop motion media was that folder that I set up. So I'm going to put my beautiful clean images into here, ready to use when I get into Premiere. So I'm going to press Select. I'm going to select JPEG here, okay, .jpg, and I'm going to set my quality to 12. You always want your quality to be the maximum amount for a JPEG, so I make sure that's okay, and I press Save, and I can see down here that it's exporting my files. Still got about 50 to go, so I'm going to let that run, and I'm going to press Done right here, and it'll continue to do its thing. Okay, and I can close Bridge as well. And that's still processing. That's just letting me know that it's still working. And I can open up here, and you'll see in my media folder, these files are coming in as well. All my clean JPEGs that I'm going to use in my movie. So I'll just let that finish. Got 20 more to go. My original pictures, which are unedited, I really don't need anymore, so I'm just going to put them on the side here. Now we're just going to be working with this folder. My media folder is filling in, and then my projects folder, there's nothing here yet, but when I go into Premiere Pro, I want to make sure to save my project in this folder. Premiere Pro is going to make a bunch of other files, which they need to go somewhere. So they're going to save to the folder where you save your project to. So everything's going to go in here. Okay, my files are ready. I'm going to go down and open Premiere Pro. You want to close any other programs that you might be using, especially if it's Photoshop or something that's a very hungry program, because it'll slow this down. So I'm going to go over here to create new project, click that, and I'm going to name this. I'm just going to call this stop action, and that'll be my project, and I'm going to save it to my folder that I made on my desktop. So here's my stop motion narrative and into my projects folder. I'm going to save it right into there. I'll press choose and press OK, and you'll see that it's already made that file that I just saved, although I haven't done anything to it yet, but my project will be saved here, and then it's going to make other files and folders here as needed. I don't want to mess with those. So here's Premiere Pro. This is the project pane. This is where all of the pictures and video clips and stuff that you might be using will be. This is your source monitor to preview any of your media. This is your timeline. This is where you make your sequence, which is basically the order that you want things in and how long they'll play for. And up here is where you'll preview the project. So when you play the sequence, it'll play up here in this area here. So what I want to do is bring in my media because I don't have any yet. So I'm going to go to File, Import, and I'm going to go to my stop motion media folder where I've got all of my edited pictures. And I'm going to go ahead and select all of those, so I can do Command A and import. That might take a minute, especially if you have 1,000 pictures. Yeah, if you have 1,000 pictures, you might want to have something else to work on or go to the bathroom for a few minutes. Okay, great. All right, so over here in the project pane, you'll see all of the pictures listed. Again, I have 56 pictures. You might have more. Now, there's a couple things you want to do. The first thing you want to do is just put a picture into the timeline. The reason you do this is because the first thing that you drag into the timeline is going to set the settings for the whole movie. So I want it to take the dimensions from the picture and put it here. So I'm going to drop it right here. Again, all I'm doing is putting the settings together. And you'll see that the picture's right here. Okay, if I want to see it a little closer up, I can press the plus sign on my keyboard to zoom in, or the minus sign to zoom out. I've got 3 video tracks, so those are like different layers that I can put things onto, although we won't really need it for this project. And I have some audio tracks as well. So I can add music and other things like that by just dragging it from here to there. Okay, now that I've got my settings sorted, I can just go ahead and delete this. So I'm going to click right in the middle. It turns white. That means it's selected. If you can't get it to turn white, just zoom in a little bit so you can click into the middle of it. And press delete and just to get rid of it, but I've got my sequence set up with the right settings. As soon as you throw something in here, it's going to make a sequence, and that's basically where it saves all of the things that you put into it. By default, it'll have the name of the file that you dragged into the timeline. So I'm just going to double click that and name it sequence. And it's okay, it can just live there, it's not a big deal. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is select all of my pictures. They're all by number, so they're in the right order, in the order that I shot them in. I'm going to select the first one, shift click, select the last one. You can also do Command A if that works. And I'm going to press automate to sequence. Before I do that, I got to put my playhead where I want it to drop the pictures. So if I pressed it now, it would have put it over here at 14 seconds. I don't want that big gap. So I'm gonna go to about 5 seconds, and I can watch right here to see my time. 5 seconds right there. So now when all these pictures drop in, it's going to drop in at the 5-second mark. So I can leave this empty here to put my opening credits. So I'm going to go ahead and press this button down here, Automate to Sequence. And it's going to give me some options. The one I want to look at is ordering. Sort order, you can move these around, so they might be out of order. Or you might want them in a particular order, that's fine. I'm just going to put them in that selection order is when you move them around. So if you want to pick this one first and then that one, it'll go in that order. I'm going to keep it on sort order because they're in number order, which is good. Placement sequentially is fine. Over here, I want to click on frames per still. 30 frames is about 1 second. 15 frames is about half a second. So I'm going to try about 15 frames for one image. So it is a duration of 15 frames, which is about half a second. So I'm going to press OK. And that's going to drop the pictures in there. And you can see that they're there. I'm going to press the minus sign if I want to see them all together. Just to zoom out, I can also zoom in. Okay. This is yellow. Yellow means it might have some trouble with playback. Red means it'll definitely have problem with playback. So when I press play over here, you'll see that it looks okay. If it freezes or doesn't quite show all of them, it might be because it's having some problems, just sort of making everything play. So if you're trying to view it and it looks a little slow, it's dragging or it's freezing, then what you can do is render this. So you want to go, just go back to the beginning here, put your playhead at the beginning, and go to sequence, render into out, and it's going to basically make it so that this is green so that it'll play properly. If you have a lot of pictures, it'll take a long time. So again, video editing takes a long time, so you might want to bring something else to work on or get some lunch or something like that. You can see it's going green, so once that goes green, that'll play really nicely. You don't really have to render unless you want to preview the movie. Otherwise, when you export it, when you export the whole project to make it a movie file, it'll render it when it's exporting. But when we're editing, we want to see what it's looking like, see if it's playing properly, especially if you're playing with your timing and how long you want each still to show. Then you're going to want to render it so that you can see a live preview of it. And if you had 1,000 pictures, this would take quite a while. So you probably want to work out your settings or your timing with the small batch. And then when you're happy with it, then go ahead and put all of your 1,000 or so pictures in here for your whole movie. But test it with the small batch. Okay, great. That's done rendering. It'll play now, and you can see it's nice and green. We got all this blank space. That's where we're going to put our credits in. And you can see that this is playing pretty well now. So I can really preview it and see how it's going. This is moving, the frame's moving a little bit. You probably want to shoot this with a tripod so it doesn't move very much. Okay, so I can stop it. Also, you can press the space bar. When you press space bar, it'll play. You press space bar again, it'll stop. So you can use the space bar, or you can use these play and stop buttons here. Okay. I haven't used this yet, but this is basically to preview the file. So if I wanted to see one picture, I could just drag it up there. It's just sort of a preview of the setting here. It's having a little bit of a hard time with that for some reason, but that's okay. No, okay, it's not happy. That's okay. Usually it'll work. Just drag it up there. And let's see. next thing you want to do is add an opening title here. So you can go to, first of all, you got to put your playhead there. Okay, so when you add a new thing, oh look, it fixed itself. Okay, when you add a new thing, you want to put the playhead where you want the new thing to be inserted. So I'm going to put the playhead at the beginning, and I'm going to press new item, and I'm going to go to title. The settings here are being drawn from the settings for your sequence, so they should be correct if you've got other things in your sequence already. So that first picture that we dragged in was just to do the settings for us. So this should be fine. So for title here, I'm just going to give it a name. I'm going to call it opening. I'll press OK. And you'll get this box here that opens up. It might be a little smaller, in which case you can make it bigger by pressing the green button. And this is just text really, so I'm going to try my type tool right here, and I want to center it, and I'm just going to give this a name like candy corn, and you can highlight it and then do what you like with it. So I'm going to center it here. You can click and drag down to make it smaller, or click and drag up to make it bigger, or you can also type in an amount there for the size. So either way, you can choose different fonts, make it bold, italic, anything like that. There's some styles here. If you want to use any of these styles, you can just click on that and it will automatically give you that preview. Maybe we'll keep it like that. Actually, that looks like candy corn. Okay, we'll do that. There's also some settings on the right hand here if you want to do anything crazy with it. You can kind of play with those as well. Okay, but once you had it pretty much the way you want it, you can just close this little box here, and that will automatically save. Now you'll see that here in my project pane, all my pictures, my sequences here, and my opening will also be here as well. So it's created here, so I'm going to drag that right here into my timeline. Okay, and this is default duration. I currently have my default duration to maybe a second or so, which is not very long. So if I play this, you'll see it just pops and disappears. So I want to extend that and make it play for the 5 seconds that I have here available. So I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to press the plus key on my keyboard. And when I go over to the end here, I'm going to get this symbol. I can just click it and then click and drag to stretch that out. All the way to where that picture starts. So now when I play it, you can see that it lasts for about 5 seconds. It can be a little shorter. And then it goes into my pictures. And you're going to see the whole thing. I'm going to press minus just to zoom out while that's playing. And it'll go towards the end. I can also add, I'll stop that, add end credits here. So I'm going to click on the title again, new item, and then add a title. I'm going to name that ending or end credits. Press OK. This is just a preview. It's going to show me a preview in the background of wherever I put my playhead. If I had put my playhead at the end, it would be black. So it's not a big deal. It's just sort of a preview. It's not really there. You can turn it off right here. It won't show the background if it's distracting. I'm just going to go like this, and I'm going to center it and put by Lexi Ruiz, images by Lexi. Should let me those pictures. Okay, great. And I'm going to just highlight this and make it a little bit bigger. That's fine. And I'm going to close this, and that will be saved right here. So you'll see here my end credits, my opening credits, my end credits, and I'm going to drag. Just going to actually move this over and put my end credits at the very end here. And that's going to be really short. So when I press play, you can see it's pretty short. It kind of stops there. I'm just going to take the end of this and stretch it. So I can see right there under duration, I want that to be maybe 4 seconds or so. Okay. Now these are really harsh transitions. It just pops from one screen to the other. So you might want to add a little crossfade there. So what I can do to make it fade in and out is put my mouse at the end and right click. If you don't have a right click, you can control click on the Mac and do apply default transition. And here as well, apply default transition, and I'm going to do that also to my opening credit. At the beginning, right click or control click on a Mac and do apply default transitions, and then go to the end here, control click or right click and do apply default transitions. And you can see that's not rendered now, but that's okay. And when I play it, it fades in, plays for a little bit, fades out, and goes into my stop motion narrative. That'll play. I'm just gonna move this over to the end and play that, and it should fade out into my credits. Then my credits will fade out. And then you're done. So when you have it the way you like it, you can go over here and go to File, Export, Media. And what you want to do here is you're going to export the whole thing. So you want to do entire sequence right here. That's really important. And then if you do match sequence settings, that's going to do full size. So if you shot high res, it's going to export a high res picture. So if you want a nice HD video, you can press match sequence settings and press export. If you want it for the web, you can do something smaller. So instead of match sequence settings, you're going to go to H264. And under preset, you're going to do match the source, high bit rate. You're going to turn on export the video and export the audio if you have any audio. If not, you don't need that. And press export. Oh, I forgot to do one thing. If you click here, let me cancel that. If you click right here, you're going to tell it where to save. Let's do that. So here's where is my desktop? Stop motion narrative. I'm just going to save it right into my main folder, but I'm going to rename this. Okay, maybe I'll put my name on it, or my last name. Press save. Okay, there you go. So click here, tell it where to save and what to name it, and then press export. And that might take a few minutes. It's got to render everything and then export it as well, so it takes a little bit. Okay, that's done. I think he's still thinking, so I'm going to give it a minute. Should be done. Let me check my desktop. Oh, okay, now it's done. You can see it went away. So now when I go into my folder, there's my media, here are my projects, here's this project right here, this file, and here's my final movie right here, saved as an MP4. So I'm going to close this. I'm just going to save it. and I can quit Premiere. And if I want to play this, it should play right there. All done. Okay, thanks.